In a dimly lit control room aboard a massive galactic assessment vessel, Chief Wildlife Inspector Crick T9's terrified scream echoes through the corridors. This entire planet is an evolutionary disaster zone. A massive saltwater crocodile lunges at the camera, its ancient eyes gleaming with predatory intelligence. Flashes of deadly creatures appear in rapid succession. A blue-ringed octopus pulsing with hypnotic colors, a funnel-webbed spider charging aggressively at the camera, and a seemingly innocent platypus revealing its venomous spurs. Advanced alien technology beeps frantically with warning signals as emergency alerts flood holographic screens. Two multi-limbed alien scientists scramble desperately for safety while their sophisticated equipment melts down from attempting to process the impossible data. From orbit, Earth looks deceptively peaceful, a beautiful blue marble suspended in space. But these galactic inspectors have uncovered a truth that will shake the foundations of their scientific understanding. They thought they were documenting another primitive world. Instead, they found themselves face to face with an evolutionary arms race that defied every natural law they knew. This is the story of how Earth's most dangerous continent broke an advanced alien civilization's classification system. The Galactic Assessment Corps prides itself on maintaining strict standards throughout the cosmos. For over 10,000 years, they have cataloged millions of worlds, categorizing each planet's evolutionary path with unwavering precision. Their advanced classification system had never failed, until they encountered Earth, specifically a continent called Australia. The year is 2525, and Chief Wildlife Inspector Crick T9 stands at the observation window of their assessment vessel, all four eyes blinking with barely concealed disdain at the blue-green planet below. Behind them, their fresh-faced assistant Veryl taps away at holographic displays, radiating the kind of enthusiasm only found in recent graduates who haven't yet had their idealism crushed by bureaucratic reality. Another Class D biosphere, Crick T9 declares, mandibles clicking in what passes for a yawn among their species. Primitive carbon-based life forms, mostly harmless vertebrates, and absolutely nothing we haven't documented 1,000 times before. They wave 3 of their 6 appendages dismissively at Earth's image. But something seems off about this assessment. The ship's AI hesitates, if an artificial intelligence can hesitate, before delivering its standard briefing. Words like unusually aggressive evolutionary patterns appear in the data streams, along with a curious statistic. 17 previous assessment teams have requested reassignment after initial surveys of this planet. Crick T9 dismisses these warnings as clerical errors. With over 300 planetary surveys under their carapace, they're certain this will be their easiest assignment yet. They even have dinner plans back at Central Station that they'd rather not cancel. As their transport pod descends toward the Australian continent, neither alien notices their standard-issue translator downloading an unusual number of warning signs and danger symbols from Earth's databanks. They're about to discover exactly why Earth has earned its unusually aggressive evolutionary patterns designation, and why those 17 previous assessment teams developed an urgent need to be elsewhere in the galaxy. The pod touches down outside a research facility that seems to consist mainly of corrugated metal and solar panels. Dr. Maya Rodriguez waits for them, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a smile that somehow manages to be both welcoming and slightly unsettling. She knows exactly what these aliens are about to learn about her beloved continent's unique approach to the evolutionary arms race. The first alien encounter with Australian wildlife begins innocently enough. Dr. Rodriguez leads her extraterrestrial guests through what she calls the introductory exhibit, a seemingly peaceful outdoor area surrounding the research facility. Crick T9 strides confidently ahead, all 6 limbs moving with bureaucratic precision, while Veryl follows behind, frantically calibrating their biological scanning equipment. Perhaps we should start with your basic invertebrate species, Crick T9 suggests, their 4 eyes scanning the terrain with professional disinterest. Something simple to establish our baseline readings. At that exact moment, a huntsman spider casually strolls across their path, its legs span roughly the size of a dinner plate. Veryl jumps backward, all 6 limbs flailing in surprise. That's just a small one, Dr. Rodriguez says with her unervingly calm smile. The little spiders are what you really need to watch out for. She points to a tiny redback spider building its web nearby. That one there could drop a creature 10 times its size. Crick T9's professional facade shows its first crack as their scanning device begins displaying warning symbols they've never seen before. But they persist, determined to maintain their composure. Surely these are isolated cases, they declare, though their secondary eyes keep darting nervously around the ground. The tour continues to the reptile research section, where Dr. Rodriguez cheerfully introduces them to the inland taipan, casually mentioning it's the most venomous snake in the world. One bite contains enough venom to kill 100 humans, she explains, then eyes their alien physiology thoughtfully, or about half of one of you. Veryl's antennae go completely flat against their head, a clear sign of distress their species hasn't displayed since their evolutionary ancestors faced predators millions of years ago. Their scanning device starts emitting a series of increasingly frantic beeps, each one representing another violation of what they thought were unbreakable laws of nature. But it's the platypus exhibit that truly begins to shatter their scientific worldview. An egg-laying mammal? Crick T9 scoffs, all 4 eyes focusing on the seemingly innocent creature. At least this fits our expectations of a primitive evolutionary dead end. Dr. Rodriguez's smile widens just a fraction. Did you know the males are venomous? The silence that follows is broken only by the sound of Veryl's scanner experiencing what appears to be an existential crisis. The venom causes pain so severe that our strongest painkillers can't help. Some victims report the pain lasting for months. Crick T9's professional demeanor develops its first major crack. But they're semi-aquatic monotremes. They shouldn't even exist, let alone be venomous. This violates at least 7 different principles of evolutionary theory. Welcome to Australia, Dr. Rodriguez shrugs, where everything's made up and the rules don't matter. She pauses, head tilting slightly as she hears a distant thumping sound. Oh, and you might want to brace yourselves. That sounds like the kangaroos coming to investigate our new visitors. Kangaroos? Crick T9 asks weakly, their universal translator struggling to process the growing dread in their voice. The bipedal herbivores with enhanced jumping capabilities? Surely they're harmless. Dr. Rodriguez's expression becomes almost predatory with delight. Would you like to hear about the time they had a boxing match with our satellite dish? The kangaroos won. By the way, the thumping grows louder as Veryl's scanner begins displaying what appears to be its last will and testament. Little do these galactic inspectors know, they're about to discover that in Australia, even the herbivores have learned the art of violence, and what they've seen so far barely scratches the surface of this evolutionary nightmare. The real surprises, like the drop bears and the cassowaries, are still waiting to make their dramatic entrance. As the thumping grows louder, Dr. Rodriguez leads her increasingly anxious alien visitors toward what she calls an advanced wildlife observation area. The galactic inspectors are about to receive a masterclass in why Earth, particularly Australia, defies every evolutionary principle they've ever studied. A massive shadow suddenly falls over the group. Crick T9 looks up, all 4 eyes widening in horror at the sight of Kevin, their resident cassowary. Standing nearly as tall as the transport pod, Kevin tilts his head, his throat turning a brilliant shade of blue as ancient reptilian eyes assess the aliens with unnerving intelligence. Don't make eye contact, Dr. Rodriguez warns cheerfully. He takes that as a challenge. But Kevin is merely the opening act. Dr. Rodriguez begins a rapid-fire introduction to Australia's greatest evolutionary hits. She points out the bull ants, casually mentioning how they can kill you with either end, venomous sting in the back, massive mandibles in the front. They'll chase you for up to 100 meters if you disturb their nest, she adds, as if discussing the weather. Veryl's scanner, already struggling with the concept of venomous mammals, begins displaying error messages in languages even their universal translator can't process. The device wasn't programmed to handle the concept of insects that chase their prey with murderous intent. The tour moves to the Marine Research Center, where Dr. Rodriguez introduces them to the blue-ringed octopus. Their venom can kill 26 adult humans in minutes, she explains with scientific enthusiasm. The rings glow bright blue right before they strike. It's the last thing most victims see. Crick T9's exoskeleton takes on a distinctly pale hue as they learn about cone snails, whose tiny harpoons deliver hundreds of different toxins, many still unclassified. But it's the stonefish that finally breaks their scientific composure. They look exactly like rocks, Dr. Rodriguez explains, and their spines can pierce boot soles. The venom causes pain so severe that victims beg to have the affected limb amputated. Verrill, who has retreated to what they hope is a safe distance, makes a sound their species hasn't produced since evolving sentience. The reality check reaches its crescendo when they reach the intelligent species exhibit. A giant Pacific octopus solves complex puzzle boxes while casually planning its next escape attempt. Last week, she figured out how to order seafood online using a stolen credit card, Dr. Rodriguez mentions. The saltwater crocodile demonstrates tool use by strategically bumping the pier to make tourists drop their cameras into his growing collection. Crick T9's professional facade crumbles completely. Their extensive training in xenobiology never prepared them for creatures that combine lethal natural weapons with problem-solving abilities, rivaling some sentient species. Even the plants have joined the evolutionary arms race. The gimpy tree, also known as the suicide plant, delivers stings so painful that horses have jumped off cliffs to escape the agony. The final straw comes when Dr. Rodriguez cheerfully explains that even their seemingly harmless wombats have evolved reinforced posterior cartilage, which they use to crush predator skulls against tunnel roofs. Verrill's backup scanner displays a single message FLE before dramatically self-destructing. Just as Crick T9 begins to accept that their entire understanding of evolutionary theory needs revision, Dr. Rodriguez decides to introduce them to the concept of swooping season. The magpies, she explains, have learned facial recognition and hold grudges. One researcher had to wear a disguise for 3 years after accidentally walking too close to a nest. The reality of Australia's evolutionary chaos hits home. This isn't just a collection of dangerous creatures. It's an entire ecosystem where everything has evolved to be lethal in increasingly creative ways. Even the herbivores have developed combat strategies that would make military tacticians proud. As if to punctuate this revelation, a massive bird swoops past, its prehistoric appearance making both aliens question their career choices. "Oh, good, Kevin's back," Dr. Rodriguez beams. "Don't worry, he only hospitalizes people he really likes." The cassowary tilts his head, his throat turning an even more brilliant shade of blue, as if preparing to demonstrate exactly why his species has earned the title of most dangerous bird in the world. In this moment, standing between a grudge-holding magpie above and a murder bird with knife feet below, while surrounded by venomous everything, the Galactic Inspectors finally understand why their 17 predecessors requested immediate reassignment. They're not just documenting another primitive world. They're witnessing the results of an evolutionary arms race that turned an entire continent into nature's version of an extreme survival challenge. Just as Crick T9 starts to believe the situation couldn't possibly escalate further, Dr. Rodriguez utters the words that will forever haunt their nightmares. "Have you heard about our drop bears?" The question hangs in the air like a prelude to disaster, which, as they're about to discover, is exactly what it is. Before either alien can process this new information, something large, furry, and equipped with far too many teeth drops from the branches above. It lands between them with theatrical precision, looking like a koala in the same way a great white shark looks like a goldfish, a vague family resemblance thoroughly overshadowed by evolutionary adaptations optimized for murder. The drop bear opens its mouth, revealing several rows of teeth that would have made a Tyrannosaurus Rex feel professionally inadequate. Verrill's terror evolves past sound into a pure psychic broadcast of fear, causing several nearby psychic-sensitive plants to wilt. Crick T9, drawing upon generations of bureaucratic training, does the only thing they can think of, holds up their official assessment clipboard and declares, "This is an unauthorized interaction. I must insist you follow proper protocol." The drop bear responds by eating the clipboard. What follows can only be described as a scene that violates several laws of physics and momentum conservation. Vero discovers previously unknown reserves of athletic ability, achieving a vertical leap that briefly qualifies them for low orbit status. Crick T9 attempts to maintain dignity while running in 6 different directions simultaneously, a feat that would later earn them a mention in a quantum physics journal. The drop bear, clearly enjoying itself, bounds between trees with the air of someone playing with their food and thoroughly enjoying the entertainment value. Kevin the cassowary, not to be outdone, decides to join what he clearly interprets as a new form of group exercise. His contribution mainly involves running in circles and occasionally stopping to perform what appears to be a war dance, complete with throat-wobbling sound effects that the universal translator gives up on and simply labels as apocalyptic jazz. "Don't panic," Dr. Rodriguez calls out from behind her protective barrier. "They can smell fear." She pauses thoughtfully. "And also electromagnetic fields, radiation, and apparently existential dread. They can smell existential dread." Vero achieves an even higher pitch, one that causes several measuring instruments in the nearby research station to recalibrate themselves. The drop bear, now thoroughly enjoying itself, starts performing acrobatic moves that seem designed purely to show off. It executes a perfect backflip, lands on a branch, and makes a sound that is unmistakably laughter. This proves to be the breaking point for Crick T9's professional composure. "This entire planet is an evolutionary disaster zone," they scream, their bureaucratic facade shattering like a wine glass in an opera house. "Everything here has evolved to be as lethal as possible. Even the things that shouldn't be lethal are lethal. It's like the entire continent is running a competition to see what can kill you the fastest, and everything is winning." Dr. Rodriguez nods thoughtfully. "You know, that's pretty much what the last assessment team said right before they reclassified their transport pod as an emergency escape vehicle." The drop bear, apparently satisfied with its performance, stretches lazily and begins sauntering toward Vero's perch atop a weather station. Vero responds by attempting to achieve geosynchronous orbit through sheer force of will, as they make their careful retreat back to the visitor center, keeping an eye on the trees above, the ground below, and somehow also behind them simultaneously. Dr. Rodriguez adds cheerfully, "Just wait until you hear about our marine biology facility. Did you know we have a fish that can climb trees? And another one that can walk on land? Oh! And there's this absolutely fascinating species of sea snake that's curious about boats and likes to investigate ship propellers." Vero's backup scanner displays its final message before dramatically self-destructing. "Error. Reality check failed. Attempting reboot in alternate universe." The breaking point isn't just about their scientific understanding shattering. It's the moment they realize that humans have not only survived in this evolutionary thunderdome, but have developed a disturbing fondness for their lethal ecosystem. As they sprint back to their transport pod, they begin to understand that Earth isn't just another planet to classify. It's nature's experimental laboratory, where everything has graduated from the school of hard knocks with honors in creative lethality. Back in orbit, safely ensconced in their assessment vessel, Crick T9 and Vero sit in shell-shocked silence as they prepare their final report. The ship's AI attempts to play soothing background music, though it has to switch tracks after its first choice of "What a Wonderful World" triggers what Vero would later describe as a minor psychological episode. "How?" Crick T9 asks nobody in particular, their 4 eyes still wide with lingering terror. How did they even survive long enough to develop spaceflight? They stare at the blue-green planet below, trying to reconcile their understanding of evolution with what they've witnessed. Vero, attempting to maintain professionalism despite their antennas still being tied in what appears to be a stress knot, consults their partially singed notes. "According to my final analysis, Humans appear to have evolved alongside these creatures, developing advanced problem-solving abilities and tool use as pure survival mechanisms. In essence, they had to become smarter just to avoid being killed by literally everything around them. But that doesn't explain why they stayed. Crick T9 protests, mandibles clicking with residual anxiety. Any rational species would have evacuated that death trap of a continent millennia ago. Vero pulls up Dr. Rodriguez's final comments on their holographic display. She said something interesting about that. Apparently, humans view their deadly wildlife with a mixture of fear, respect, and pride. Her exact words were, "Yeah, everything here wants to kill you, but once you accept that, it's kind of fun, like living in an extremely deadly theme park where all the rides are trying to eat you." The ship's AI chimes in with its attempt at a scientific analysis, though its voice seems to carry a slight tremor. Updated classification parameters suggest this planet represents an evolutionary anomaly where standard survival metrics no longer apply. Humans appear to have developed a psychological adaptation that transforms mortal terror into recreational entertainment. Crick T9 begins drafting their official report, all four eyes twitching slightly as they recall their experiences. The holographic keyboard struggles to keep up with their shaking appendages as they type. Planetary Assessment Report, Planet Earth, Sol 3. Primary Assessment Location, Continental Region Australia, Classification. Nope. Sir, Verrill interjects, I don't believe nope is an officially recognized classification category. It is now, Crick T9 declares, continuing to type, naturally occurring predatory ecosystem, warning level, maximum. Notes, everything on this continent has evolved with the primary directive of causing death through increasingly creative means. Local sentients, humans, appear to have not only adapted to these conditions, but have developed a disturbing fondness for their lethal ecosystem. The report goes on to detail specific recommendations. Any future assessment team should be equipped with maximum-grade protective equipment, multiple backup evacuation plans, comprehensive psychological support, and a written will. Additional note, under no circumstances should assessment teams trust anything that looks cute, approach anything that looks dangerous, or let their guard down around anything that looks harmless. As they finalize the report, their ship sensors detect an anomalous reading from the planet below, something about a platypus that has learned to operate their abandoned scanner and is now attempting to send emails to the Galactic Assessment Corps central database. Verrill wisely decides not to mention this development in their report. Some things, they decide, are better left undocumented for everyone's sanity. The report is immediately flagged by the Corps Central AI for suspected hyperbole and possible psychological trauma-induced exaggeration. This flag is removed 3 days later, when the AI reviews the attached video evidence and develops what its maintenance technicians describe as a nervous twitch. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Maya Rodriguez is updating her own report when she hears a soft thump on her desk. She looks up to find her house cat, Mr. Whiskers, proudly presenting her with what appears to be a piece of alien scanning technology. "Now where did you get that?" she asks, scratching behind his ears. Mr. Whiskers merely purrs, stretches, and settles down for a nap, looking entirely too pleased with himself. On her computer screen, her report cursor blinks next to the words, Interspecies Relations Assessment. Successful, though perhaps next time we should warn them about the cats first. The Galactic Assessment Corps thought they understood evolution. For 10,000 years, they classified countless worlds, confident in their knowledge of how life develops across the universe. Then they encountered Earth, and Australia shattered every principle they held dear. As Crick T9's assessment vessel accelerates away from Earth, plotting a course that deliberately avoids coming within 1 light-year of Australia, the impact of their discovery ripples through the galactic scientific community. Their report, initially met with skepticism, soon becomes required reading at every xenobiology academy in the galaxy. But the true twist emerges in the following months. The seemingly random evolutionary chaos of Australia reveals a deeper pattern. Earth's deadliest continent hasn't produced mindless killing machines. It's created an intricate web of intelligent adaptations. The octopus that orders seafood online, the crocodiles that collect cameras, the birds that remember faces and hold grudges. They're all part of something bigger. Meanwhile, the platypus that acquired the alien scanner hasn't just been sending emails. It's been analyzing the galactic classification system itself, finding flaws in their understanding of evolution that even the advanced aliens missed. Its findings, transmitted through a complex series of what appear to be completely accidental computer malfunctions, begin to revolutionize the galaxy's understanding of life itself. Dr. Rodriguez's cat, Mr. Whiskers, continues to collect alien technology with suspicious efficiency. Each piece somehow finds its way to exactly the right research department at exactly the right time. The galactic community never notices that their entire understanding of Earth is being carefully curated by a network of seemingly innocent Earth creatures. The final report addendum, automatically generated by the ship's AI just before it develops its mysterious twitch, reads, "Warning. There's a distinct possibility that Earth's creatures are not evolutionary accidents, but rather the result of nature's most successful experiment in creating intelligence. The question isn't how they survived, it's what they're planning." Back in Australia, a kangaroo casually uses its pouch to hide another piece of alien technology. A drop bear encrypts another data transmission disguised as a mating call, and Mr. Whiskers continues his nap, purring contentedly. After all, the best way to study advanced alien civilizations is to let them think they're the ones doing the studying. The Galactic Assessment Corps never returns to Australia, but perhaps that was the plan all along.